Welcome everyone to the Heart and Hips workshop. I'm so excited to share this information with you because I'm going to share the stuff that I have learned of how to balance my energy and get the energy flowing so that I would use my body as the organism that it is, which is something that's going to help you create your life, because energy is what attracts things to you. And so not only is your body attracting the things that you desire for your life experience, it's also holding the energy as a storage system. And so I want to share with you today how the energy in your body gets stored. And then we're going to go into how you process the energy that comes up, and it comes up through exercise. When you move your physical body, you loosen up all of these like gears and pulleys and levers of energy that you can't see, but is only felt through thoughts and feelings and physical pain. So we're going to go through all of that stuff. I've got some great simple visuals to help you remember and identify the reason why we're doing this, especially in the moments where you kind of like have moments in exercise where you feel the payoff and the reward, but then you're like, oh no, I feel good, I don't need to do it. This is the reason why you're going to want to do it consistently, because energy is always going to be in motion. Your body is never static. It's always fluid. It's always learning and perceiving and having intuition about the stuff that's going on around you. So the more you can come back to the body and get your mind in your body to feel the sensations in it while you're moving it, the more you can really let go of old energies that are like negative emotions, the baggage, the stuff that we really need to let go of, that's keeping the body how it is now and the life how it is now. So this is a very big experience, but I'm so excited of how simplified I got it down for you guys. So we're going to go through a couple of things of where stuff is, what the mind body is, energy and motion, and how energy is stored. And then we'll move on to movement. So we have a general disclaimer that you are doing these exercises at your own risk. I'm not a medical professional. I am a certified personal trainer, and I am sharing with you the things that I learned that helped my body recover from stress and illness and inflammation. So you have this slide deck in the guide section of the Facebook group, and then you also have a journal. And the journal is a reformatted version of the slides, but then of course also places for you to write stuff. If you come back to this presentation, you want to review it. So it's in the guide section here, and it'll be a guide section that looks similar to this. It'll just say Hearts and Hips Workshop. So the things that we're going to cover today is 4 different concepts to understand how the body is working. We're going to go with the mind. There are 3 parts of the mind: the unconscious, the subconscious, and the conscious. We're going to go through the body, how it's the base of our experience, the habits and automations that go with it, and then the manifestation of that base and habits, and of course, how you can change that like base root system. We're going to go through energy. There are a lot of different energetic systems in your body, and there are a lot of chakras. We're just going to be covering the 7 main chakras that help us ground our energy in the physical body. Then we're going to go through an allegory. So an allegory is like a parable or a concept that we can use to represent different functions in the body, because this is all mostly perception stuff. This isn't something that's tangible. It's something that you are going to have an image in your mind of what it is, because it's non-physical. So the first thing that we're going to go through here is the mind body of the mind. And so we have the iceberg, and I think of this as the conscious thought that's at the surface, where like, I'm like this because I have these habits because this is how my parents ate. I have knee problems because my mom had knee problems. We have an idea, an awareness of the reason why something's going on in our life or in our body. So that's easy. Like we're aware of the problem, but we don't necessarily know how to fix it. That's the conscious part. The subconscious is, I know I keep doing this thing, but I don't know why. So sometimes we'll find ourselves doing mindless eating habits, and we know we're doing the thing. We know we have this habit, but we haven't figured out what the root cause is to fix it. And then the unconscious thought is, I can never, or no matter how hard I try, this thing is never happening for me. And so that unconscious part is the most frustrating part, because we have the idea of what we want to experience and we just keep hitting this roadblock. And sometimes I feel like this is also a statement where we're like, I can never get to this outcome. I can never have this dream actualize, no matter how hard I've been working on it. It just never happens. Something always blocks it. We're going to get into that. And that's the most exciting part, that we can actually up level these things that are buried in our psyche that are keeping us stuck in a very practical, systematic way. So the body part is, we can think of this as we have gears and pulleys that are actually making things happen. So it's color coded. The base is the big gear. So that's that unconscious program where this is just like who we are. This is how things operate. This is how our life has always been. And we don't necessarily know the reasons why, but this is just who we are, right? Like, it's just your identity, who you would describe yourself as, or who somebody else would describe yourself as. So that identity, very simply, we can say this is of a healthy person or an unhealthy person. So that base identity is then going to go into that blue gear, which is all the patterns that go along with it. So that unconscious base identity is telling your body how to function. It's telling your cells how to be healthy. It's telling your digestive system how to make food, or, make nutrients out of your food for your body. And it's also automating your physical habits. So this is where it comes into play of being able to wake up early to go to the gym, or not being able to, having healthy eating habits, or always having to eat as soon as you walk in the house or as soon as you're leaving. Like, these little things that we do that are just automatic are happening because of that base gear that we see here on the page. The final one is the manifestation of that base and the habits. So if we have a system in our body that is saying that we are unhealthy for whatever reason, whatever trauma we might be suppressing, whatever negative experiences we might have that now has put us into this stage of, I used to be healthy until I had this injury, and then everything went downhill. That just became a base, which then made automations that kept you in a loop of reconfirming that your body will never be healthy again, which then creates the outcome of the body that might be out of shape, might be overweight, or might be suffering in pain. But also, that body, like I said, is creating your reality because it's energetic. So your body is literally sending a signal now out into the world to attract people and experiences and events that are going to confirm, since this thing happened with my body, I never have been able to stay in shape. Things are going to keep reoccurring to you to keep that identity reinforced. So we're also going to be going through that. Another way, and not really another way to look at it, this is another part of the system. We're laying it all out there for how to understand how this energy works. And I'm going through it quickly because I know you can have the replay, and the part that really matters is the experience of it and the processing of your emotions. So don't worry if I'm going too fast. You can always come back to the replay and reflect on it in your journal. The energetic system, this particular one, has functions that create, again, your body and your reality. And we start at the bottom with the root chakra. And this is, again, that base identity. But the funny thing with the root chakra at the bottom is that it is unconscious, meaning whatever experiences that you had in your 0 to 3, or a significant emotional event that was really too much for you to handle, all get stored there. That's that base operating system, that very big gear, and it's also part of your unconscious mind. So this energy center that's around your tailbone is storing energy, literal energy is storing there and creating a signal around your body, within your aura, your vibe, that is telling everything in your body and then everything in your life, this is who I am. And when the energy gets balanced, what's really cool is it connects with the crown chakra. So your heart chakra is the green one right in the middle. When we live life in our human conditioning, we're mostly operating with the first three: totally unconscious, totally primal, total survival. But when we can get into our heart, then we actually start to access the higher realities, like the angel realms, the non-earth stuff. So as you do these exercises that I'm going to be sharing with you, you're going to be able to then start to operate in your crown chakra's identity of who you are in your highest aspects, your best self, your high vibe, who you are on your best day. That's what you're going to start to tap into. The next one is your sacral chakra, which is kind of behind your navel. And this one is creative. Whether you have a womb or not, whether you're male or female, this is your sexual creative force. But sexual is not necessarily about actual intercourse. It's about creating a union between the physical self and the non-physical self. So who you are as a being and a soul, and who you are as a human. But because it has to do with sexual energy, it does become very like clingy or avoidant or primal and hedonistic and obsessive and addictive. So this is where we see some of our patterns with having our food addictions that we can't break to finally eat healthy. When the energy gets balanced, then you tap into what's called the third eye. So the third eye is really a singular eye where there's no right and wrong, no black and white. You take in the whole scope as something that just is. So instead of being in worry and addiction and I need something to make me feel good, like food with a comfort eating, you're able to feel those emotions that are causing you to comfort eat with the third eye of taking the whole scope in of this is just what life is, or this is just what the experience is. What can I learn from it versus how is it putting me down? The next one is the solar plexus, and that's kind of right below your sternum. And the solar plexus is the thing that it's like a flashlight, like literally like a flashlight. And it is the thing that like shines out into this realm, this plane of existence where we are physically to show everybody who you are and also be like the guiding light for you to go towards what you want. And when this one is not doing well, we're kind of stuck in, if you just came in as this like perfect soul, perfect high vibe, you didn't care what anybody said about you, you didn't have any social media standards of what your body was supposed to look like, you would have no shame about who you are or how you want to look or what you want to create. When this energy center is storing some of the negative stuff, we're afraid to be that person. We're afraid to really step forward, put the boundaries down, make the decisions for ourselves, not get bullied or pressured into like breaking our diet or, I just want one cocktail because like this is for me. If I have more than one cocktail, I know I'm going to open up my appetite and I'm going to want to keep eating and eating and eating. I don't want to be pressured to have more than one cocktail. I want to be in that solar plexus and be like, no, one's good. Shut up. It really allows you to be who you are without somebody trying to pull you back. That solar plexus is also connected to the throat chakra, which is essentially what I just demonstrated. You are actually saying, these are my boundaries. This is what I'm doing for my body. This is what I want. There's nothing else about it. This is who I am, and this is what I want, and this is what I'm doing. Shut up. It really allows you to have that for yourself so that you can stick with the habits that you need to create your physical outcome that you want. The heart chakra is connected to all of them, and it's kind of like the epicenter that keeps the energy circulating. And it's the bridge between the physical realm with these first three chakras and the non-physical realm, even though they're all working with the physical and non-physical, which is why it's so complicated, but which is why getting in your body and feeling your emotions and processing what the thoughts are that come with it gets this whole system working. So it is abstract, but it's very easy to access, and you'll see that pretty soon. The last thing that I wanted to share with you is an allegory of thinking of this as a computer. So what you're looking at me on is the computer screen, is the app, right? The image that's all the way on the right side. The app required code for the image and my sound to come through for you to experience it. That code had to be in the hard drive of your laptop and of the application that you put on your laptop of Zoom or YouTube to be able to watch this. That hard drive is the root chakra, is the unconscious mind. The code is your sacral chakra, is your subconscious mind. And then the experience of it is the solar plexus and the conscious mind. It's all the same stuff. We're just looking at it in different ways to help it land. And sometimes energy, people hear the word energy and they're like, I know the definition, it can't be created or destroyed from 7th grade science. That's what I always thought it was only. And because not everybody can see it, some people have a high sense perception to actually see this, but there are literal, actual energetic currents within your body. There is a polarity of a positive charge and a negative charge that is flowing through and from your body, and it can get stuck. This is why Eastern medicine with acupuncture has been so successful and studied for eons and created eons ago and perfected. We're actually moving the energy within the body, but you can use that, but you can also do this for yourself. And this, again, is just another image for you to see how it's going to work. So here's more of the physical, tangible part of what we're going to be getting into and why the exercises are going to be so helpful for you. When our body is walking, the right heel, when it hits the floor, has force. This is why sometimes running hurts, because it's a lot of jarring force on your body. So when your right heel touches the floor, the force goes up the back of the leg into the hip, and then it rotates. There's a tendon that actually kind of has a little twist to it. And the energy then goes up through the opposite side of the body, out the opposite shoulder, through the fingertips to the very last joints of your body, and out your temple joint. There's a little flat sand dollar type joint right here that lays here. So sometimes our headaches could be caused by something going on in our hip where the energy is like compounded, like where there's like a big jolt and it gets stuck and it's kind of like this ricochet, and then it messes all the other joints up. And then the muscles that are there are like tight and tweaked and spasmed and eventually ache or pinch a nerve. The exercises that we're going to do are going to help you balance the shoulders and hips so that your energy can start flowing. And like we've been saying, that the energy in the body is a storage system. When your energy starts to flow, it's like a dam that breaks loose. So if you think of a dam breaking loose and you see some fragments of lumbar and trees that fell and debris of whatever from a storm start to go through that river once that dam is broken, well, that debris is like stored all over you out here in your aura, in your energetic field, and in body parts. When that stuff breaks free, you experience them with thoughts and feelings. Then you get to do the work to process those. That's like the journaling stuff that we're going to get into. So it's physical exercise, it's mind body, then it's mind exercise. I want to show you when I wanted to avoid getting cervical spine surgery and I learned about the psychosomatic, the mind body connection, and that the pain is emotional if there isn't an actual torn tissue at the time. Like if you're cut, clearly it's going to hurt. If your bone's broken, it's going to hurt. Most people, this like blew my mind. Most people have herniated discs, meaning most people have a disc that has slid and is touching the spinal cord. But if that person's body does not perceive it as a threat or a problem, or the person is not under threat or stress, the body won't register it as pain or a problem. Most people have screwed up joints and backs, but it's their mental state that's actually giving the pain signal. So when I learned this, I was like, what? So I looked up what's going on in C6 and C7 where I have my injury. What are the things that I need to work on? And those were inflexible thinking and constantly looking to the past. So I was like, okay, how can I have a more gray mindset instead of a black and white all or nothing website? And what in my past do I keep going to that I need to forgive and let go of? So I just wanted to show you this and give you a couple of examples of how these thoughts and feelings are stored. I used Louise Hay's Heal Your Body. It's like a $10 book, and you can also just download a PDF of it off the internet for free somewhere. There's websites like that all the time, or you can just Google metaphysical meaning of shoulder pain or whatever it is that you're having issues with. And this will give you a bit of a guide to be like, what is stored here? What can I focus on when I'm exercising? The bonus is that if you're here because you don't like body parts, right? It's dislike or dysfunction is how I like to categorize it. You could also look up whatever it is that you don't like: the back of your thighs, your butt, your ankles. I remember like in Friends when Ross said that Rachel had cankles and she like freaked out and they like broke up over it or something. Like whatever body part that you don't like, you could do this work too, because that disliking part actually has a lot to do with who you are and what you want for your body, and where there is a contrast with what you have been told you should look like, or told how you should be, or what you should live up to of some standard and culture. So this is how now we're getting deeper into the physical body. Then the good news is there's only 3 things that you have to do. That's it. You're going to move your body with exercise. You're going to observe the thoughts and feelings that you're having in that exercise, and then you're going to process them. And the observation may not happen exactly in that moment where you are moving that body part. You want to open your awareness and have ears and eyes and all your 5 senses open, that sometime when you're living your life, the answer or the solution to something that you've been struggling with will just pop in. It could come from a cashier at the grocery store who says something maybe that you've even heard before, but it lands in a different way where you're like, oh my God, that's the right way I should be thinking about such and such situation. And in that moment, you could start the processing with what I'm going to share with you, how to process it, or just write it down in your notes so that you can, your notes on your phone, you can reflect back to it, because this is life work. This isn't just exercise work. So you want to be open to working on things in spur of the moment. And movement is like a washing machine. So we're going to do the exercise. Your body's inside the washing machine, getting all jerked, moved around, and light bulb, thought and feeling, light bulb, light bulb, light bulb. Those light bulbs, when we observe them, are the key to wherever you're locked up, wherever you're still struggling in the conscious, I'm like this because this is how my parents ate. My dad had knee problems. It will unlock I don't know why I always have to eat before I leave the house. And as soon as I walk in, like I just automatically already in the refrigerator before or after I walk in. That was something that I did all the time. It's going to unlock the deep unconscious of like, oh, this thing that bothers me in the romance area of life or the career area of life, it's been taking itself out on my body. Like I haven't been dealing with it or I don't understand how to fix it, but because it's stored in my body, that's why my hip hurts. But now that I have the solution to this other area of life, now my hip is not feeling so bad. So these are the things that are going to happen. And processing these thoughts and feelings are rebirths for your physical body. So the Bible and a whole bunch of other metaphysical spiritual books are often coming down to the same thing, that it is our responsibility to be reborn. We are the one who are manufacturing a new human all the time that we are aware of our emotional state. where we're able to stay regulated in our nervous system to where we're not reactive to whatever stress is happening. Because at this point in our lives, we really don't have, especially if you're in a Western country, you don't have real threats for your physical life. We have mind threats. We have, do I have enough money? Do I have connection with other people so that I can have support? Really that, do I have the connection with other people and do I have enough money? Those are mostly our threats right now. So if we're going to be aware of those fears around money and livelihood, and will I have enough? And do I have a connection with people so that I have support? When we're aware of the feelings around that, we'll have less of a reactive state and less using food to comfort, or less not exercising because we're not putting us a priority, and we'll heal our body from the inside out because we're aware of those thoughts and feelings most of the time. There will be times where you check out, of course, but it's going to build the awareness. Okay. So reason why I'm so passionate about this and that we're here is that I used, why I'm passionate about exercise in particular, is that I used my body as a map to define my energetic resistance to myself. So in attachment theory, my attachment style to romance, I believe with my tests that I've taken and with what I do, observation, I'm avoidant, but I'm also very avoidant to self. And that avoidance to self, or our anxious attachment to our dream body, we want the thing, we want it, we're anxiously attached to it. We're avoiding ourself because the self that we are now is not that dream body. I have used exercise and used these tools to bring those two together. So I'm more and more in my dream body, and I'm more and more accepting and loving and respecting myself and following through for myself. And I knew when I made the connection that exercise was part of it, if I was consistent moving the energy and exercising, I could keep growing those two things, who I was back then and the ultimate dream body, and keep merging it together closer and closer. And this is what I did. And so I really hope that you try it. You try to be consistent with it. So how you're going to process this energy? We're going to move the body, we're going to observe, and we're going to process. The good news is you're creating a body from the inside out. And the bad news is you're creating a body you're going to create contrast. So who you are now, the relationships that you have now, everything in your life now is a reflection of this energy that's in your body. So as soon as you start to change the energy, it's going to send a ripple effect. And that ripple is going to touch every area of your life. And what is not a match to it, what you may have trauma bonded, or what life you have created out of avoiding pain, heartache, whatever, defeat, failure, whatever you've created to avoid success, it's in contrast now. So you're going to start to see things in your life a little bit differently. And it could be scary because you're like, oh my God, I'm afraid to let go of this thing or this person or this goal that I've been having, that I've just been like beating my head against the wall. Like it never comes true. You may actually start to see that like that person or that anything is not for you. And so it takes you not discarding anything. That's not the mindset about it. But the mindset is, I want to keep connecting to myself, and I will let go and allow my life to change around me to have that happen. So just be aware that that's something that might be happening. So now the last thing to do is how you process it. So when you have a thought and feeling show up in your life or in your body from doing these exercises, these are the questions that you really want to contemplate. What do I remember? And what do I remember before that? So, this is just an example that's coming to me right now. I don't have an emotional attachment to it, but something that I do remember is an adult saying, "You're always eating." Every time you walk in my house, you always go straight to the kitchen. And I remember feeling shame about that. But also when I realized some of my habits in 2017, I was still married, and I was like, I literally park my car in the garage and go up the stairs and then go eat. Why do I still do that? And part of it is I'm actually a foodie and I love food. And part of it is I feel like, well, what if I go somewhere I'm not going to have food? So I started to just eliminate these fears. And so when you think about what do you remember? What is this knee? What is coming up in my knee when I'm doing this exercise? I remember this. Okay, why do I remember that? Why is this memory coming up? What's the thought and feeling with it? Well, what other time before that experience that I'm remembering did I have a similar thought and feeling? And you start to just go back and be like, what was painful that I can now extract wisdom from and be a better human being and be able to have better decisions going on for my body? Who do I need to forgive? And then also, do I need to forgive myself? So that's what like letting these memories come to life will do for you. And when we say, how have you identified with it? If you have a feeling because somebody made you feel a certain way, nobody made you feel a certain way. You created an identity of your value as a human because of that experience. So if someone's going to make fun of me as a kid to say, oh, you're always eating, in my mind, listening to the tone of that person, knowing that there's magazines that you're supposed to be skinny, I must be bad. If I'm bad for always wanting to eat, I should feel shameful of this. Okay, so I identified myself with shame. I am someone to be ashamed of through my habits of eating. How is that going to carry on through every time you try to diet or change something in your habits? As soon as you slip up, or you won't even be able to do anything because that energy of shame is your identity and is constantly recreating who you are to not let you follow through. So identifying, really being able to see who you have told yourself you are because of these experiences will help free you from them. And then the really powerful part is, who have you become despite that negative identity you made? And I think this is an overlooked part of doing shadow work and inner work, is that we have to look at all of our accomplishments despite this thing that we've been struggling with. Because as soon as you start to remember, oh yeah, I feel like shit and here's why, and you get clear on the emotions, I feel shame, I feel guilt, I feel sad, I feel disappointed, I feel gross, like whatever it is that comes to mind, then when you get into the now moment and you're like, well, who am I? I have friends, I have a career, I am educated, I have a family, I have money, I have a laptop or a smartphone I can watch this on. When you start to go through and see, wow, like I was able to create all these things, even though I was struggling with this, then all of a sudden you take that power and apply it to your habit change. Because if I could do all this, despite this shit I've been dealing with, how was I able to do that? How did I overcome that insecure feeling to be able to check this box over here? And how can I take that as a template to follow through with exercise and my fitness? So you'll be able to like identify that stuff. And I already kind of said, who do you need to forgive? And also, how do you need to forgive yourself? Because often what will happen is when you come to a memory that somebody hurt you, a lot of times you will see how you did that very same thing or that emotion to somebody else or to yourself. And then that is the hardest part to forgive, because then all of a sudden now you're judging yourself for doing the very same thing. But if you go back to how the mind is working, that thing that made you feel bad became an unconscious identity. It got stuffed. And even though you're not aware of it, energetically, it's still creating your reality. And so you have to let yourself off the hook to say, this is how energy works. I'm just a product of that. But now that I know better, now let me work with it. You're also going to create space. So clean up your room, clean up your bathroom, get rid of stuff that you don't need. Everything around you, like I said, is a product of your energy. So if there's something that you don't identify with anymore, get rid of it, give it away, sell it, do whatever. If you notice that the things that you watch, if you watch trauma porn of a whole bunch of crime shows, if you watch scary shit, the scary shit, if you are not processed, is going to help really recreate that identity. And of course, if you keep consuming it, it's going to create an identity, even if you have processed some of this stuff. But you want to change what you're listening to. So I changed anything that was like a negative entertainment. I took that out of my life when I realized how powerful this stuff was, so I could recreate my life. And one of the things that I even did before I started working out with a training partner consistently is I listened to a playlist that I labeled Solar Plexus, that was a bunch of remixed with really cool beats and like techno stuff of men, like military guys that are motivational speakers and authors who are talking about having a strong mindset. I listened to that to strengthen who it was that I wanted to become while I was letting go of these negative emotions. So you're changing the music and changing what you're consuming with media. And then also one of the hardest parts is to allow gaps where you aren't consuming anything. Because if you think of this, that your body is the storage system, everything that you're taking in all the time is imprinting into your system. It is assimilating with who you already are. And when things are a match, it's going to create more of who you are. Well, if you're still struggling with shit and you're still avoiding your feelings, it's going to compound that and really keep that going. If you are constantly in the search and constantly seeking and always consuming on top of your processing, there's no time for your mind body to regenerate itself because you're just globbing more stuff on. So you need times where you're not listening to anything, where you're not reading, where you're not watching anything, so that you can just be. And that's where that soul connection, your high self connection, is really going to start to form itself, to where those solutions are going to come in and you're going to understand more about yourself, so that you can stay more committed to yourself in your health and your fitness. And it's rinse and repeat. Move, observe, process, and create space. It's ongoing. It's not going to stop, and it's going to get better and better and better. So we're going to move. And these are the 2 items that hopefully, if you, if you signed up for this course, you opted into the double email, that you got your confirmation email that you signed up for this list, because this was included in your welcome email to this course. So we're going to get our resistance bands and we're going to do some movement.